So this is World's Strongest Opinions, episode 57. Do you go by John or Johnny? I mean, I see you wrote Johnny, but then your profile says John. Does it matter?
No, I don't mind. I like
Johnny Alimo has a good ring to it. So
yeah. My uncle's name was Johnny, so I like going by Johnny.
Right on, man. Yeah, it's a good ring to it. So yeah, episode 57. Johnny Alimo, welcome to the show, man. Coming off of
to be here.
You were just saying about a month removed from your top 10 placement at OSG. I think you took 9th, right?
Yes, I took 9th overall.
Nice.
It was a good show. I had a lot of fun. That was my first time doing OSG, and I mean, it was really one hell of an experience. I mean, that's really the only way I can put it. It was pretty much like everything that I expected it to be and more. And I had so much fun. I can't wait to go back next year.
Yeah. So how long have you been competing? I mean, you're not very old, are you? I mean, I guess you're probably 24.
Yeah, so I'm 25. Okay. I turned 25 a couple of days before I got to OSG, actually. Yeah. And I've been competing in Strongman for like 2.5-ish years. My background is I started training Strongman maybe like 3-ish years ago. Maybe I guess it's 2024 now, so like 2022, like early 2022. I did about 2 years of powerlifting before that. And beforehand, like, I played a lot of basketball, like growing up as a kid. I played 1 year of college basketball. I walked on at like a local D2 school over here. And it's funny because like a lot of people are like, oh, you don't look like a basketball player. And I'm like, yeah, that was like 50 pounds ago. But pretty much like after basketball, roughly was COVID timeline. And I just decided to focus on like lifting weights. And I pretty much just got like some weights in my garage, like during COVID, and just kind of like started powerlifting in the garage a little bit. I was squatting, benching, deadlifting. And then ever since then, just kind of been like full steam ahead.
Nice. I mean, going 2 years of competition and going to OSG and making the top 10s, I mean, damn impressive.
Thank you.
That doesn't happen very often, that somebody doesn't have a long history of strength sports or whatnot, of weightlifting in general, and comes into Strongman and makes the top 10 at Worlds final that quickly, man. So yeah, no, incredibly impressive.
Thank you.
You made a big splash, right? Like, wasn't Clash one of your like third shows ever or something?
Yeah. So I did Jersey Clash early in 2023. It was like, it was February 2023, and I took second there, so I qualified for Clash. That was my 4th show, and then Clash on the coast was my 5th Strongman show ever. And then ironically, OSG was my 6th Strongman show ever. I mean, it's cool. It's like, you could definitely say like, I had a fast rise and everything, but I've been an athlete my whole life, truthfully. I've been training ever since I was young, very, very young, like 8 years old. I mean, I started lifting weights when I was like 16. So I was always kind of like in and out of lifting weights, but it was more so focused on like, just like getting better for basketball and like getting faster and stuff like that. And, I was always naturally pretty strong, and, like I was obsessed with basketball at the time, and I had like a speed coach kind of, and he like broke my heart when I said this, but he's like, I think you should quit basketball and focus on lifting weights full time. And at the time I was like so focused on just like athletics and basketball. I was like, kind of took offense to that, but he was dead on. He was dead on accurate. And I kind of regret almost not doing that a little bit in a sense, but then who knows where I'd be today. So I guess it all works out.
Yeah. So 6 shows in, you must have started right. I mean, you just jumped right into the ring. Do you even skip, like, even bother doing novice, or you just jump right over that?
Yeah, no, I did. I guess you could say I did 2 novice shows. So my first show was 2021. 2022. It was Tommy Lavelle's show in Squat Science, Brooklyn. It was called Brooklyn's Strongest Man, and I got 4th place to that show. and I was heartbroken that I didn't make the podium. And I remember that being like a pretty pivotal turning point for me. Like, it's like, damn, I really want this. I really want to be good at this. And then the next show that I did was Southwest Regionals 2022. It was Derek Owen's show. And that was a really, really fun show. And that was the goal back then, was to qualify for OSG. And I was doing well. I was kind of hanging with my own, but like looking back on like all the footage from that now, I could kind of see like how raw I was in a sense. And truthfully, like I probably wasn't ready for a show like that, or definitely not a show like OSG. But even with all that being said, I was in fourth, and then I wound up hurting my back in that show, and I pulled out like 3 events in. And then the last like local show that I did was that later in that year I did a Long Island Strongest Man, and I won that. That was like a local USS show, and that was really it since then. So, like the goal for this year is to get to nationals.
Which nationals?
Strongman Corp.
Okay.
So to do that, I would have to do like a local show just to qualify for that. So
sure. We don't necessarily have to do a local show. I mean, there's like Plat Pluses and stuff that you can go do, right? I mean, I think you win those, you get the automatic Arnold invite too. So, I mean, you can do, right? The easy route's probably do a local show so you don't have to travel, but, you can go do a higher level show and really kind of prove that you deserve to be there, right? That's the way I was kind of looked at it. Go do that. And I don't know if the pro-ams give you any invite to nationals or not, but I know there's a few of those around too.
No, I'm not sure. I know that like I think James Deffenbach is doing South Carolina's Strongest Man, so I guess that's like a regional. I'm not sure if that's
North Carolina.
Oh, I'm sorry, North Carolina's. Yeah, so I know that would probably be a pretty good show. Well, it definitely will be a good show, and
sure.
that's a nationals invite also. So
yeah, where are you at? Are you in New York or?
Yeah, I'm in New York. I'm in Long Island, New York.
Okay, so it's not too far of a drive down to North Carolina.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't really necessarily fit my time frame for the year. So, to be honest, like it was a pretty busy back end of the year for me last year. And I'd like to just kind of like take this next couple months to just kind of like build myself up a little bit and have like a nice long off season. I don't want to say I'm a big believer in that, but I do think it's important. And it's strange because I'm in like a little bit of a weird situation where like experience is very valuable to me, like pretty much at any level. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. But I also kind of know that if I just keep on like peaking for shows like one after another, I'm kind of like cutting my ceiling a little bit, if that makes sense, by doing that. So it's kind of like a weird mix. My goal, like in my head, is to kind of have like a quiet like first half of the year, and then hopefully things ramp up like towards the end of the year, because it would be like potentially. Well, I'm hoping that maybe fingers crossed I get a America's Strongest Man invite. That'd be really cool. And then be nationals and then OSG again. So it's a pretty busy back end of the year. And they also. A couple of the guys at OSG a couple of the 105 guys were talking about how Brian Shaw said that there's going to be like a lightweight Shaw Classic this year. He said it like once in a podcast. So, I mean, don't shoot the messenger. But, if that happened, I think that'd be really cool. I would consider that too.
Yeah. So, I mean, nationals, you're obviously going for your pro card. Arnold, I mean, other than that, the sky's the limit, right? I mean, do you have aspirations to go compete overseas at all before you tackle those next challenges, or? Yeah,
definitely. I see like the over in Germany they have
the ultimate.
Sorry, what's that called again?
It's Ultimate Strongman.
Ultimate Strongman. So I know that's really cool. There's a lot of stuff overseas that I would definitely be interested in. And also too, just like kind of being a little kid, like playing sports, like to call yourself a professional athlete's like always been a dream of mine.
Sure.
So, say what you want about like the value that a pro card has. I think it's very valuable, and it's always been a dream of mine to have that and to be able to call myself that. So it's definitely a big reason for wanting to do that myself.
Yeah. Well, it's a very prestigious award
Yeah.
in any case. And I mean, everybody that has earned it has certainly proved that they deserve to be called a pro. So, yeah, by all means.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, what does the off season look like? I mean, off season, I've always kind of thought like, so the strongman way for many years, and depending on where you're at, I mean, especially in Europe, guys just do back to back to back shows. I don't even know if they train, right? What does off season look like for you?
So off season, I think is a really good time to first like address any kind of like niggles and injuries that you kind of had, like just coming off of a really long, hard like competition block. For me specifically, like there's always an emphasis on overhead mobility, just because like I'm super, super restricted going overhead. So it's just always chipping away at that. I have like a bit of I've had a bad knee for a few years. I actually just got an MRI on it, and it's really just nothing more than like kind of just wear and tear. But I really haven't been able to squat for a while. So getting my knee healthy and getting my squats and growing my legs, getting my legs strong, are a big goal of mine. And always conditioning too. Just keep on building that work capacity and volume. So like right now, I'm doing a block of snatch grip beltless deficit deadlifts, and it's very challenging. Even a couple 100 pounds is pretty hard, and then I'm making it even harder by like using a stiff bar with kilo plates too. Like basically like prepping for OSG, like pulling on a kabuki bar, like with bumper plates and stuff like that. You really kind of take for granted like the difference that makes. Right. It makes a big difference. So, I guess it's kind of cliche to say, but working on your weaknesses, right, is kind of like a big one.
Sure.
But always emphasizing like overhead mobility for me, and just getting in better shape overall, and just, lesser load to just give my nervous system a little bit of a break from all the heavy stimulus before.
Yeah, a lot of people swear by that too. I know our friend Luke Davis is a big advocate of taking like a full month or more, like completely off every year. I've never really done much of that, but yeah, some people swear by it. Like, I mean, giving your body some time to rest and recover, and like you said, heal from all the aches and the pains that come with strongman, because it's definitely not probably the healthiest endeavor in the world to go and beat the shit out of yourself.
Yeah. No, but we all know that. You know what I'm saying? We
know that.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah.
The general public has no clue.
Yeah, they Yeah. My clients at the gym, they laugh at me because like if I have to like go like scratch my back, I have to like wedge my elbow to like
yeah, right.
Like, why are you doing that? I can't reach.
That's what the door jam or like the corner on a wall is good for.
Exactly. But yeah, I don't know if I would actually be able to like physically stay out of the gym for like a month. I think that's pretty tough.
Right.
But I do think like you can still get a lot out of training, and you could make a lot of progress just, by doing different things and lowering the weight. Like I have one day, it's just purely like a hypertrophy leg day, like a lower body day for me. And I basically just do like 100 reps of leg extensions and 100 reps of hamstring curls. And like, I go pretty hard when I do it. I try to like max out the machine and do the full stack and everything, and do like pause reps and all that stuff. And like, it's pretty challenging. I mean, it's fun. It's like a new challenge. So it's cool to me, but it's fascinating how like, if, you could give that to anybody. And the only difference that anybody will get out of doing that is like how hard you do that actual exercise.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm just like blasting through those, I'm like, all right, I'm trying to get out of here fast, just blast through them real quick. It's like, it's not really anything. But if I take my time, try to like, really squeeze and everything, it's like, you could get a lot out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's with just about anything. I was just talking to my girlfriend about education, like going to school, right? College, like, degree means nothing. It's what you put into it that you get out of it, right? It's the education, not a piece of paper.
100%.
And it's the same with lifting. Yeah, it's what you put into it that you get out of it.
100%.
And yeah, you go to the global gyms and everybody's just trying to, get in and get out, and they're completely baffled why they're not making gains.
Yeah, I made a post. So I'm trying to like grow the online coaching side for myself, and I made a post like, stop talking so much at the gym. And then I see like a couple people in person too, and they're like, "Did you make that post about me?" I'm like, "No, but if you think I did, then
yes,
then maybe."
Maybe. Are you guilty? Do you have a guilty conscience? Maybe it was about you.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to find the right environment though too. Like that's where I kind of like tend to avoid strongman gyms a lot these days. Because I mean, it's not because I don't like the people; it's because we just sit and talk all the freaking time.
Yeah.
Like he can't get anything done. It becomes social hour, and it's like, yeah, it's really fun to do that, but also you got to get work done, and there's more to do in like at least my life than what's in the gym. Right?
I agree, and
because you kind of do still have to get out, right? Spending 4 hours at the gym because you're gabbing for 2.5 of them isn't really helpful either.
Yeah, and there's a lot of value in specifically like you don't have to say like, all right, I gotta have a fast workout, like I gotta get out of here fast and kind of rush through stuff. But there's a lot of value in like getting a lot of work done in a short period of time too. You know what I'm saying? And like that's, I don't want to say it bothers me because it's not me myself, but I wish like other people would see that, because like if you take the same workout and you just did it week to week, it was the same exact workout, but every single time you did it in a shorter period of time, like you're gonna get stronger just by doing that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, your work capacity increases too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like that's really the angle that I look at it is like you're leaving so many gains on the table by just like
warming up and cooling down and warming up and cooling down. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting. It's a fascinating field though. That's why I love it.
Right. Did you go to school for physiology or kinesiology or anything along those lines? Or?
No. I kind of, obviously looking back on it, I wish I did. I have a degree in psychology, which I'll probably never use, but I'm a personal trainer. So a lot of people tell me that I'm basically like their therapist, but that's a joke. That's kind of a joke.
I mean, the iron is kind of therapy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Slam shit around that has no feelings.
Yeah. And well, I don't have like any degrees or stuff like that. I have a couple certifications, but like genuinely, like I love everything like in this field. I just find it so interesting. Like I remember like being in school and trying to study for tests and stuff like that, and I just had no like desire to really like go above and beyond to like learn. It was just kind of like get the work in and that's it. Kind of like how we were just talking about. And now like I find myself like rewatching like certain videos or like rereading like certain things and stuff like that. It's like it's just because I'm like genuinely interested in it. Right. So, again, it sounds cliche, but I know, you don't need like a degree to call yourself or to know that, you know what you're doing pretty much.
Right. Yeah. But you definitely have got to have some experience, some know-how and understanding of body mechanics and some of the general theory of training. I was just talking to somebody on Instagram and joking how many people will go do their first novice competition and suddenly they're coaches, right? And I mean, good, we've actually talked about that on here before too. I mean, good for them for going out and trying to live their dream, but also there's a point where I mean, you're responsible for another human being's well-being, at least to some extent. Like you're telling them how to train, how to eat, whatever.
You haven't even figured it out yourself.
Haven't even figured it out yourself. Yeah. So there is a necessity to have some experience and education, whether it's self-learned or through the school system. But yeah,
100%. And I'll give a quick plug. My coach Shane Germain, MST Systems, he has a periodization course out. It's 12 weeks long, and I've learned so much from that course. I think it's really, really good. And I really encourage people that are like looking to expand their knowledge like in that field to consider that, because I think it's really top notch. And that's like one of the resources that I use all the time, just kind of like check back on things in there, if I need like another second thought or something like that. I think it's awesome.
Because he's a really nice guy. It was nice meeting him at OSG, but also like that whole circle, like they get the social media, like his whole like MST Systems, like it really is like laid out well and professional. Mm-hmm. And I think that's always the fascinating thing to me, is to watch people who can also like be a top tier athlete, but also understand the business and social media side of things so well, because it's like him, Ollie Clark, Dean Madden, and some others, like
McKeegan as well.
Yeah, McKeegan. Yeah, all of them have like mastered the social media side of things, which I think is interesting, especially because for all of them, it's like actual informative content. Because I think sometimes there's this like weird gap in social media where you have people who really get the social media but don't get the fundamentals of like physicality and training and everything. So it's nice to see that blend. So I'm glad you brought him up, because he also has his app out that like people can check out.
Yeah, that's how I started actually. That's how I got introduced to him was, well, I mean, I saw like a couple of his like Instagram stuff, posts and stuff like that, and then I just signed up for the app, and I just really liked the style of training. And eventually one day he posted like a year or so ago, he's like, I have a couple spots open for coaching, and I just messaged him, and I mean, it was set in stone ever since. And it's really awesome working with him, and also Dan. I work with Dan directly, and they're just, it's a great team. And honestly, it's cool because he has a lot of athletes, but like we really are all friends, and like we're in a big group chat together and stuff. It's a nice feeling to kind of have like a team behind you. So grateful for that, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We always talk about strongman as being kind of an individual sport. Out on the field, it is obviously, but to get there and everything that happens, everything that goes into building a great athlete is definitely a team effort. It's really, really hard to do that on your own.
It is. And like specifically for a show like OSG, I think that's like really, really valuable. To have people there, like with you, like whether it's just like family or friends, whatever, like, cause they're long days, man. And if you don't really have anybody or you don't know anybody, like, it could, I don't want to say like it can eat you alive, but it just helps to like occupy your mind and just kind of like move on. You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, I wasn't nervous at all really going into the show, just because I knew that like I already had a lot of people there, like that were willing to help me out. I really appreciate that. And another person that I have to give a shout out to was Andrew Clayton as well, because he was in my corner all weekend, and he helped with so many little things. And he's like, like a wizard when it comes to like just the small, like minute details that I don't know how he thinks of. And honestly, like this guy, like he had more like gym utility items on him than like most people competing.
Right.
Like, he had like in his pouch, he's like, yeah, I got chalk. You need chalk? I'm like, like you're not even competing. Right. So it was really cool.
I mean, he was down there like deadlifting, like helping people.
He
didn't miss a training day just because he was at OSG.
we were in the back. He was doing like Nordic curls, like breaking a sweating and everything. I'm like, this guy's an animal. But I have to give a big shout out to him too. So he was a really big help for me also.
Yeah, that's great. Andrew's a friend of the show, man. We love Andrew Clayton.
Yeah.
Because he is like
great man.
He's astoundingly dedicated, and two, just like his size to be able to like have that frame and be able to do the 105s the way he did was just amazing. So I think that's always interesting to like see the way he approaches everything and stuff, because I think it's interesting to like watch everyone's styles. Like that was the most interesting part of like as an outsider watching OSG, is like seeing how everyone approaches things and stuff. Of like some people are like super social, then other people are like very like focused and everything. So I think it's interesting to like see those approaches. Like you said, studying psychology, like I think it's interesting to see what drives different people and stuff, to like, because he by far, I would say he's probably one of the most driven people I know.
Yeah.
Just like that everything's on point. Like he was saying, he was like, when you plan out a show, you plan out every single thing you're gonna do, everything you need. Whereas like some people just kind of throw it all together. They're like, I think I got what I need.
Swing it the day of the show.
Well, so I definitely took a page out of his book, like in terms of preparation. Like I learned from Clash on the Coast. I had a bad refeed. It was kind of like one of the first times I cut away from my own like environment, and basically like I didn't eat anything bad. I just ate out at restaurants, and it didn't really agree with me. And I learned like pretty much like after you cut weight like that, you really have to give your body like the same stuff that you've been feeding it for the last like 8-12 weeks or whatever. And it was a bit of a compromised situation for me because, I was in a hotel, so I didn't really have access to like a kitchen or like food or anything like that. But I took a page out of his book because I was like, you know what, like I'm not gonna let this stop me. And shout out to my dad too, because he helps me a lot with everything too. And we basically put our bags down Tuesday night when we got in, and we went to Walmart and we spent like $500 like buying groceries. And I bought an air fryer and a refrigerator and a skillet, and it was a really big help. And then this kind of leads into a funny story, but it actually didn't really wind up working out for me because the first morning that I woke up there, I put my food in the air fryer and I set the smoke alarm off in the hotel. The alarm went off for about an hour and it was total chaos. And actually didn't wind up cooking my food there. I cooked it over at Shane's house, and I stunk up his house cooking 3 pieces of salmon in his kitchen. But it was and getting back to my point was, the preparation was there. You know what I'm saying? I didn't let like where I was defeat me in that pursuit. So, definitely like ticking off all the boxes. I'm a big believer in that also.
Yeah, and I think that makes a difference of like having that prep stuff. I remember years ago seeing like Brian Shaw would talk about how he travels. He was like, you go somewhere like, just buy a cheap rice cooker, like get your stuff there, and you have the meat and like have everything all ready. Because I think it can be easy. I remember Andrew Clayton actually had a post about that of how he was like, so many athletes, they'll spend $100 on some recovery pack or something, but then they won't like buy a cheap microwave at the thrift store to get what they need done or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if you just think about it from a logical standpoint, like, it's probably a little bit different being a weight class athlete. You could probably get away with it a little bit more if you're open, I guess, just depending on like how you eat and stuff like that. But, if you follow some sort of a diet for X amount of weeks and your body gets used to those foods, you're going to tell me on the last 2 days, right before the show, the 2 most important days, and then the day of the show, you're going to eat a bunch of stuff that you haven't eaten in 2 or 3 months. Like it doesn't make any sense. So I like that was like a big emphasis of mine, was creating like the environment in which I was comfortable in the sense of like, like if I wore my black, like Gymshark shorts to press in, like those were the shorts that I was wearing like for the press medley. If I wore like the gray Evolution shorts to deadlifting, like that, those were the shorts that I was wearing. So, I mean, it's definitely like superstitious too, but it's just like, I feel like the more that you can accommodate yourself and the more that you can make yourself comfortable in the situation, the better you're going to perform, no matter where you are, big stage, local show, whatever. You have to you have to keep it consistent, because like the part of the challenge with competing in strongman is like you get to the show, like you don't know what you're going to have access to warm up with. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to have the same warm ups and everything. So you have to control every single variable that you can control up until, basically you can't.
Right. Yeah. You might not get any warm up in strongman at all. Bring your bands and hope for the best.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So you just got to be ready to go.
Yep,
it's true, because everyone's talked about that. What is it? The warm-up yoke was so different than the one out on the field. Like you just have to be ready for quick adaptation. And I think, like you're saying, it's kind of important. Of like, that's one thing that Andrew brought up, is that idea of like work on consistency, because you want it to get to the point where like you're doing it, everything's almost muscle memory. Whereas if you're shifting up variables, like it can be easy, I think, for people sometimes to like go to a show and then you see tons of pros, especially at your all's level. Like it can be easy to watch someone do something and be like, hey, maybe I'll switch it up. Or like, if you're not being intentional about it, it is those things. If you realize that like changing something at the last moment can make a big difference. So it's like that idea of like keeping things kind of the superstitions, but also like, if you can make that kind of thing muscle memory, then it's much easier on comp day, rather than like kind of overthinking things, because overanalyzing things is like the easiest way to sabotage yourself.
Agreed. And I heard Dan Hughes say that, I forgot what event we were warming up for, but we were talking, and maybe I like overheard him say this, but he basically said the same thing, where he went to a show one time and he like changed his technique. And if I'm quoting Dan wrong, apologies, but pretty sure that's what he said. Like he changed his technique like right before the show, and it like didn't work out for him. And he's like, that's the last time I'll ever do that. He's like, it doesn't matter what the equipment is or whatever, like day of the show. He's like, I'm just sticking with the technique that I've always known. And I'm like, that's tough. Sometimes it's tough for me, because sometimes I like to take gambles, because like it could pay off sometimes, and sometimes it can't. But I agree with that.
Yeah, because I think it is like one of those things of like, especially I like the point you made earlier of like the importance of like learning and getting that experience in. Like it was neat to like watch you go train with Andrew, and Darren actually got to go train with him.
Oh, you did?
And like seeing those things. So I think like you were mentioning Germany with like Ultimate Strongman. It would be nice to compete with Emmanuel in Europe, because he was just like a titan to witness. And I think getting that like varied experience, because like getting the pro cards a great thing, but also getting to like watching these guys who do the international circuit and everything is really cool. Like seeing Nick Hine being like the poster for Ultimate Strongman and stuff, like that's pretty awesome to see of like these guys going around. But it's hard because it does cost a good chunk of money.
Yeah,
I don't know, not necessarily.
Oh yeah,
it depends on where you're going in the United States. I mean, it could be way cheaper to travel to Europe than like to the Arnold in Columbus, depending where you're.
That's true.
For me,
Columbus,
it is.
Yeah, Columbus adds up though.
Are you guys going? You guys are going
Arnold?
Yeah,
I won't be at the Arnold. I won't be able to make it.
Because what weekend is it? Because I know we have the Olympic
first or second weekend of March.
Yeah, I think it's the second, March 2nd or first to the 3rd, something like that.
Yep.
I've always liked the idea of it.
Of going to the Arnold.
Yeah,
I'd love to go, but it's so expensive for me to go to Columbus that, I'd rather put my resources towards something that makes more sense.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to
it's
go.
a big show, and it'd be good for World's Strongest Opinions to be there, but
it's
also very expensive on our $0 revenue stream.
Our
negative dollar revenue stream. Yeah.
I want to get back to one thing that you guys were talking about with the international stuff. So it's like, I have a lot of respect for the guys that come over here to compete internationally, because like that is not easy to do by any means. I mean, I've never competed internationally, but I mean, if you just take the time difference alone and factor that in, like that is hard enough to deal with. Then you have to factor in like most of them are probably coming and cutting weight, and most of them probably have like at least a 12-hour travel. Like my nutrition coach, Max McCall, he came from Australia. He said it took him 40 hours just to get there.
Yeah, I don't think there's any flight that's less than probably 16 or 17. I don't know. I have to ask Luke Davis what his is. I know to Charleston it was probably a little longer. But yeah, I mean the times I've flown overseas, I think it's usually a minimum. It was usually around a minimum of 18 hours of flight time plus drive time or train or bus. So yeah, it's long. It's long, and for me, time change is easier going to the east. I don't know why. Coming back is when I always get like that, like real like fatigue and jet lag. So
do you think that has anything to do with just do you think that has anything to do with like just like the adrenaline of everything, and then like you coming back, you kind of like coming back down from everything?
Maybe. I mean, maybe yes, maybe no. So last time I competed in Finland, I think my flights were 18 hours, and then I drove for 5 hours. I think it was actually a full 24 hours by the time I got to my Airbnb, and then I laid down at 10 o'clock and I slept for like 15 and a half hours, like I was dead to the world. And I woke up and I felt amazing. That's pretty atypical though. But I don't know. I just acclimate better to like that time change for some reason. And it could be coming back. But I even felt like when I visited Hawaii, like that was like a 5-hour difference backwards. And yeah, I even felt like jet lag from that. So for this is just me personally, for whatever reason, traveling west is just is weird. Losing time like messes me up. Gaining time doesn't seem to bother me as much.
I guess it makes sense though.
I don't know why. So anybody coming from like Europe is like me, they're at a severe disadvantage coming here. More so than it's still challenging, right? When you travel overseas, no matter what, you gotta leave a couple extra days in advance. You should. Because I've had a flight canceled once for 24 hours on the way. I lost an entire day. I show up the night before weigh-ins and, at like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and I haven't even started my cut yet, right? Because I had planned on doing it
the day before.
Starting the day before, because I was going to be there. And so, you kind of run into those snags. But had I not planned that extra day, I would have missed weigh-in.
Yeah.
Had my plane still been canceled, right? Yeah. So you got to have like a lot of extra planning. And I've totally like water loaded on a plane, just get on with like 7 liters of water and occupy the lavatory for like the entire like 7 hours of the flight, right?
They're like, what's wrong with this guy?
And hope you don't run into like really bad turbulence where you can't get up for like an extended period of time.
It's brutal, man. But that's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's good experience for me to go through all that, just
absolutely.
Because it's a different animal. I've never done it, and I know it. I know it's a different animal, So, that would be really cool. That would be really, really cool.
Yeah. Well, you definitely have the opportunity. You already placed very, very well at one of the, probably the most prestigious world championship for U105s in the world. I would definitely say it is. So, you'd have no problem getting into something like Ultimate. I think you just have to like write to them or call them or something and say you want to go, and they'll let you go, right? Obviously, the Arnold's a little bit more gate kept by Strongman Corp. The OSG, you need to just go do either a regionals or online qualifier.
Yeah.
Do well. They're very competitive. They're insanely competitive. But if you're doing it, man, the door's wide open. Sky's the limit.
Definitely. So I'm excited. I know the future will be, I don't want to sound cocky, but I know the future will be good for me. I hope so in the sport. And it's like, honestly, like I just say this all the time, like, I'm just having so much fun just doing it all. And like, I really think like a big part of that is the community that we have. And I genuinely mean that. Like, it's so much like it's so cool to have like a lot of friends like that are into the same thing. And I think that's why like people have so much fun like at shows and stuff like that, is because like you do get together with a bunch of people that like the same stuff that you like.
Right.
And I just think that like that's really awesome. And that's kind of why like I want to just go to different places. Like if I wasn't competing at the arm, like still want to go and just watch and just hang out with people, just to be able to chop it up and talk stuff about strength training and everything like that. Just because like it's just so interesting and so much fun. And it's like just props to the community. And like I always talk about like how when I first got into the sport, like I was just like very impressed with like the camaraderie of the sport, and how that's like known throughout the sport is like that's the proper thing to do. And it just really makes for a great mix of people and events. And so I feel really blessed. I feel really fortunate to be able to do this.
Yeah. And I don't even know if it's so much like it's the right thing to do. It's just the community's always been that way.
Yeah.
Right. It's something that's sort of a natural phenomenon, I think, in the sport of strongman, that your biggest cheerleaders are sometimes your biggest competitors, right? And everybody's there to see their competition do their best, because nobody wants to win against somebody that's injured, not at their best, right? Because they forgot some equipment, something along those lines. Everybody's there to help each other. And I mean, I countless times I've had my fellow competitors, give me tips on how to do, this event that's, somewhat unique. Nobody has this exact implement, right? It's the nature of the sport. And you're right. I mean, it's definitely what attracted me and kept me in it. And I'm sure it's what attracts and keeps a lot of people in the sport. The camaraderie, the people, the communities is really, really great.
It is
around the world too. Yeah, it's something that's very unique and universal.
Yeah, and you don't really see that. I mean, in team sports, not really, right? But like in individual sports, even more so, you would expect that it's like me versus this guy, me versus this guy, me versus that guy. And like, I mean, I'm not as involved in as many sports as this one, but I would be like hard pressed to find another like sport with the community like that. And
right.
Like I mentioned how my dad helps me out a lot, and he comes to a bunch of the shows with me and he trains with me and everything like that. And he has a kickboxing background. So his whole like mantra is, I mean, if you're going up against fighting somebody, it's a little bit different. You can't necessarily like be friends with them.
Right.
So for him to take that in and for him to accept it, he knows it and he sees it too. So, it really speaks volume.
Yeah, absolutely. The other community, like other sport that's very similar in my opinion, is Highland Games.
Oh, Highland Games. Okay,
I've got a little experience, at least locally. I started in Highland Games in 2023. And it's like another really tight-knit group. Yeah. People that are like, the camaraderie is really amazing. They definitely get out and like, if there's any drama, they just air it out on the field and get it over with, right? Which is really cool. At least that's been my experience so far.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it's like, if there is drama, it's like, well, we're about to compete anyway. Let's go settle it,
Just get it done. Handle it like men.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, they also like to drink a lot though, Highland Games, which is a little different than Strongman. It doesn't work too well for most of them, but they do it anyway. I joined in one day and I'm like, nope, I'm not doing that again.
The people who just start drinking bourbon.
Oh, you want to drink bourbon or scotch or whatever, and they just get plowed by the end of the day. And it's just like, that's not even fun anymore.
I went to one fitness expo down south of Boston. And the Highland Games guys, they were drinking a lot, and none of them were wearing sunscreen. So it seems miserable to be sunburnt at the end of a day, just like dehydrated and just like just charred red.
The irony of Highland Games is you're always allowed to bring like a tent or a canopy, right, to stay out of the sun, but they always make you put it on the far end of the field that you're never near.
Yeah, very useful. I've only had a drink once, like after a show. That was after I won. So I want to keep it like that. That's my rule. Is like can only have a drink like after I win a show.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's a lot of value to abstaining, especially when you're training for a big show. Abstaining from alcohol. I mean, like John and I were just talking momentarily. I actually stopped drinking for a really, really long time completely while I was really serious and strongman.
Yeah.
And I started drinking a little bit again, not like excessively, but like a couple ounces of whiskey before I go to bed. My sleep just is trash.
Yeah.
It just wrecks it. And if you're going to train at a high level, one of the absolutely most important things in training is recovery. If you're not sleeping, you're not recovering, and you're not going to get stronger. So
yeah. Well, no. So I've obviously, I've gone out before and I've drank and stuff like that. But, right now, just where I'm at, like in my career and stuff like that, I don't really feel the need to do any of that. And it's not even like anything like, oh, I'm an athlete, like I can't drink. It's not even that. It's like the way I break it down in my head is like, damn, well, if I drink on Saturday, then I'm going to feel like crap on Sunday. And then Monday I have to train, and then my whole week's messed up for training. So it's just like kind of like this snowball effect in my head. And I'm like, it's not worth it.
It's not necessarily anything to do with an athlete. It just has to do with your individual performance and how alcohol can negatively impact that. I mean, I think there's, and I think there's a time and a place where a drink here and there is okay, timed properly, but it's not adding anything necessarily. If your goals are high, right, the stakes are high, and you have like serious goals in training, there's like alcohol does not really add anything to it, so it's not right. It's not necessary. So.
No, I have another funny story. So I mean, my friends are they're good kids, but they go out and stuff like that. And when I was training for Clash on the coast, we had a keg toss. So, long story short, the only way I was able to find those mini kegs was I had to buy them fully loaded. Sure. And, I basically just wound up like dumping all the excess like beer into the street.
Well, most of them are Bud Light anyway, so I was about to drink that
shit. My friends, they were driving by my house and they're like, "You're putting all this good beer to waste. What are you doing?" I'm like, I don't care about that. I got to throw these things. So that was a pretty funny memory of that. But
actually, one of my funny kegs that I had a friend that ended up finding 3 empty ones for me, but the first one that I got was full of Bud Light too. I just dumped it out. I hated Bud Light long before it was cool to hate Bud Light. Just want to put that out there. Bud Light has always sucked.
I've never enjoyed it. But those mini kegs are really hard to find. Like
they are.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't even like. I went to like 7 different beer distributors to just like no, we don't have them. Like man, it's tough.
Well, Budweiser is the only one that makes them anymore, I think.
Okay, there you go.
And so that's why the one ended up being Bud Light. And then here in Colorado specifically, I don't know how it is in Long Island, but there's like a massive, what am I trying to say, craft beer scene here. And so all the kegs just get bought up. There's like the kegs in general are just hard to find unless you go to a distributor or something
or a Strongman gym.
Yeah, Strongman gym. Right. Yeah, they're hard to find here. And people want, like, when I got my first kegs, I actually started Strongman with James Deffenbaugh up in Fargo, North Dakota. And up there, it's like farm community. Like, people just had like old kegs in their barns, right? And you get them for like $10 to $15 a piece. Here, people want like the full deposit for them, like $100 for an empty keg. And I was like, you're out of your mind, man.
I know.
Like,
believe me.
You lost your deposit because you didn't bring it back. Sell it to me for $20.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I bought 7 of them, so you can do the math on that.
Yep, right. and your deposit's all lost, and yeah. Oof.
But that's what?
Dedication, man.
Yeah, that's the trials and tribulations, right? You kind of have to, because it makes a difference. If you're just throwing sandbags, it's good practice, but it's
Sure.
not the same. Your stance is
It's
wider,
not.
different release, so it makes a
100%.
difference. That kind of goes back to what we talked about before, is like control every variable that you can control, and it makes a difference, because we don't compete in a sport where it's like, we know exactly what bar we're going to use. We're going to use calibrated plates, and you know what I'm saying? So it's hard. It's tough. Like, you are practicing on a 12-inch metal log, and then you go to comp and it's a 10-inch wooden log. It makes a difference.
Yeah, it does. But there's also a point, like I think with some like logs and bars and stuff, like if you're strong, you're going to be able to overcome most of that stuff. Right?
I agree with that too. Yeah.
But when it comes to like kegs versus sandbags, you're right. There's quite a bit of a difference. The motion's still very similar. But the release, I agree, they feel much differently.
Yeah.
But you should, I mean, if you can, and you have the means to train on as close to the equipment that'll be in competition as possible, by all means do so. But
what do you think about like different dumbbell sizes, like handle thickness and stuff like that?
I mean, the difference between a 2-inch handle and a 3-inch handle is huge, right? Because the 3-inch handle puts way more strain on your thumb, obviously. But just train on a 3-inch handle all the time, you'll be fine.
Right.
Because I mean, if you go down a size, it just becomes incrementally so much easier.
Right.
Length of dumbbell certainly can have some impact. But yeah,
round bottom versus flat bottom.
I mean, like the Bartos bell or the Slater Monster bells. Those are definitely different. Those are different than the ones that are made out of pipe for sure. Yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think the form is very, very much the same.
Oh, of course.
And everybody's a little different. For me, like it doesn't matter what the dumbbell is. If I don't have my elbow high, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. So
for me, I gotta find that spot on my forearm where it's comfortably.
Sure.
If I find that, it's good.
Yeah, that's why like you put that. Some people will put like another sleeve, or like I have extra long wrist straps. I'll wrap way up. But yeah, I mean the dumbbells that we had at OSG were nice. Those were easy.
Those were nice.
Those were super smooth and easy dumbbells.
What did you think of the anchor yoke?
Well, like John said, the one in the warm up area. I mean, smoked the shit out of comp weight.
Yeah.
And then they lowered the weight on the one out on the floor, and it stapled me. Like I locked it out. Well, it didn't staple me. My elbows locked out, but it swung so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. It just, like John said, I mean, you had to be ready for anything out there, and for that particular yoke, the technique I was using, I was thrustering it, just didn't.
Yeah, you were thrustering
didn't work.
Yeah,
didn't work.
Did you push it forward though? Like before you got to it?
I don't think so, because I was really cognizant of that. I started training with a rackable cambered bar.
Okay, yeah.
And one of the hardest things that I had to overcome was just getting under it, because it wanted to fall forward.
Right. And
I felt the same thing with the anchor yoke. If I put any pressure on it, it would move away from me. And so I just squatted down and got under it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, my feet were probably just a little too far forward or behind it. I don't know. It just swung really hard on me.
It was tricky, man. It was tricky.
I will say, watching you do it twice because you dropped it behind you the first time, like that was really impressive to get two solid reps of like, and at least your judge told you to go back and do it quickly instead of Tyler Davis, of them letting him waste 20 seconds on the block before telling him he needed to go back and do that.
I didn't even know.
Anchor. Yeah, his video, because I have it all on video, and it's like he starts the block, misses his first attempt, and drops it. The judge tells him, it's like, no, you need to do the anchor again, because Terry Holland was just like lane 3. He was just like, he was very tough on his judging, because the circus dumbbell, what was it, Gavin Bell, who locked it out like 3 times and just didn't get, his technique was wild. I've never seen someone have the circus dumbbell behind them like that, to hold it out, to watch him when he points at it. I was like, I feel like it's a decent lockout if you can verbally argue.
Yeah. No, that was That was a tough call. That's actually originally how I first started talking to Gavin. We followed each other on Instagram, and then I messaged him about his dumbbell. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I like that. Just
you got to do what works best for you. Like I'm a big fan of like smashing it in my ear.
Yeah, I can't. That's tough, but
Gavin has a lot of potential because he's super young and everything. Yeah. Anytime people have their birthday in their username and it's like 1999, I'm like, it makes me feel kind of old.
You are old, John.
I know. That's what recently
I can say that because I'm a lot older than you.
Oh yeah, but it is like it's weird to realize like after talking to him and stuff. But I think last year he competed at China's Strongest Man and did some traveling. Well. Like that's an amazing opportunity.
Yes.
To be able to
Gavin's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I was like the two of you. Yeah.
Have you guys seen that one that's in like it's like the Extinct Games or something in Singapore? I think it's in Singapore. Have you seen that?
No.
They followed me a while back, and I've never heard of it. It's like I think it's the second time they're doing it, as they're saying. I don't know.
Because Strongman's really starting to take off in East Asia.
Yeah.
In a way that it had
What's it
before.
called?
Extinct Games.
Okay.
Yeah, I just heard of it here recently, and I don't know what it's about. They've been doing like an online qualifier here for a while. It's in Singapore.
How about Las Vegas Strongest Man? That one sounds like fun.
That does. That actually have Giants Live coming to the U.S. I was joking about. I wanted to joke about it because everyone always complains about how U.S. centric things. When they did that, I missed the chance. I wanted to post, be like, finally the U.S. gets some attention in Strongman. So I was like, but it is nice to have that standard coming over and stuff. And overall, like I love the partnership that Giants Live has done with Lynn and OSG and stuff. I think that's only making the sport get better.
Well, it would only be fair if they did OSG overseas, right?
They've talked about that.
So Lynn talked a little bit about that on our show. We had him on just before OSG, and I guess we'd have to go back and revisit that a little bit. But his concerns were a bit. I guess I get the impression that OSG, while it is a world championship, it is still a little skewed to make sure that Americans can get there. And I think that's a concern as far as like passports go. He's thought about taking it like to offshore somewhere, but still within the U.S. What am I trying to say? Territory. But yeah, I know a lot of people from around the world would like to see that in Europe sometime too, because there is that advantage, right? It's a huge advantage for Americans to not have to travel very far, or at least within their own country, to compete versus, us going over there. Like you mentioned earlier. I mean, it's a different ball game. It takes more planning. It takes more energy. There's so many more variables that can go wrong when you travel overseas to compete. So there is, the home field advantage is real.
It's big. Yeah, it's a real thing. Although I do got to say, I like that venue a lot. I thought that was a really nice venue.
I didn't think there was anything wrong with it.
Yeah, I think it was really good.
We joke about Charleston a lot on here, and it was kind of like, it wasn't the easiest place to get to.
No. Was there any direct flights for you guys?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think there was a direct flight in the whole country.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
Unless
you left from like Chicago.
Well,
if you left Chicago, probably
North
was
Carolina, maybe.
Yeah, because I think we flew into. Crap, where did we go the first time? I don't even remember where our first flight went to. I think we went to Charlotte, actually.
Yeah, ours was Charlotte as well.
We went to Charlotte and bounced, and then we flew out of there to Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had a layover in North Carolina. I guess Charlotte too.
Yeah.
That was like the nicest airport I've ever been in.
Really?
Yeah, it was a really nice airport. There was like a mall in there.
Nice.
Now that that's finally stopped the construction, because for a while Charlotte there was like a solid 5 years it was just constantly under construction. Yeah. So depending on what terminal you went to, it felt like you were in an abandoned warehouse. So now, they've done a ton there.
I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention.
But yeah, it was a while back. But Charlotte's like the big connecting one, because when we were there, some of the people, including World's Strongest Mullet, I forget his name, but
Aiden.
Aiden. Yeah, they had flown
yeah.
down. Their flight was from Connecticut, which was weird thinking a map flying from Connecticut to Charlotte to Charleston. I was like,
yeah,
that seems goofy, but yeah, Charlotte was like the only place you could probably get a direct flight.
Would you assume that it'll be there next year too?
I mean,
cost effectiveness, I think.
Yeah.
That's a high.
I think so. So I think I mean, I can't speak for Lynn, obviously, but I think from a cost perspective, people are going to bitch no matter where it is, for starters, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think the big gripe previously, having it in Florida and Daytona Beach is just so expensive. And a lot of people had said, just find a convention center. It doesn't matter if it's in the desert, right? So it ended up in Charleston, West Virginia, and people were like, this is such a shithole. And it's like, actually, it's a very nice little town. It was clean. It was clean. Like, the restaurant scene was pretty decent.
Yeah.
The venue was nice. The hotel was like, the city wasn't prepared for us, which I don't know what happened there. Like, our hotel was like, we didn't know all of you were coming today. And then the restaurants and the bars were like, they didn't know we were all coming, and so they were all short-staffed. But I mean, it was a quiet, relatively clean, nice city, man. I didn't see anything wrong with it, to be honest.
No, and like I said, I mean, that venue was big, it was nice, and there was like plenty of room for everything.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I had a great time there. Did the locals down there say like tough man? I heard that a lot. They're like, are you tough man?
That's like, I hear that all the time. Like, people even have that, people that know me, that I work with, especially, that I've told them I do strongman, they always come back and say tough man. That's like, I hear that so often. I don't know where that even came from, like tough man.
Yeah.
Or Iron Man, or they just don't know the difference.
Yeah. Iron Man I could get, but Tough Man I've never seen. I guess Tough Mudder, because people love those Tough Mudder runs or whatever, which just seem too messy.
The default for me is always like, it's the sport where we lift the rocks and we pull the buses.
That's good though. At least they understand like what the events are. Like,
that's true.
I've seen that on TV.
The big marbles.
Yeah. I find it funny. People call them balls. They're like,
or balls,
they're like, you're lifting up those balls.
Like lifting up balls every time I stand. Yep.
Yeah.
There's the memes that are like, what is it? They say every time strongmen go to Target, you just always want to lift the Forbidden Atlas stones there. Because I always think about that. Has anyone ever tried to like hit one with a car, just had it roll?
I don't think they're going to move. I'm just speculating.
I know they're probably bolted pretty heavily to the thing.
Will made those stones in front of Target, right?
Yeah. Or Will, he's made a bunch of nice ones. Because Will, in general, just a shout out to him with Will Development and the Atlas stones. Like his whole process. For one, he was delightful and super nice. Like the whole weekend, which
he's
I'm a big fan of. But his like craftsmanship of like him and of course Dave with Sticks and Stone. Like it's really cool to like watch people like master their craft, and it's cool that like the sport's getting big enough that you have guys who can do that. Like as like something more than just like a side hobby. Those
I mean, the stones obviously very, very good. The frame too, I thought, I mean, it was nice. That was a nice frame. I mean, shout out to Dave. That was a really, really nice frame. I enjoyed that. I kind of wish I had something like that to train on. I like that frame. But what were your thoughts on the backpack with the GoRuck?
I thought that was a great event. I screwed it up because I didn't train it at all, and then this like Marcus Crowder and a couple other guys were like tipping it over and picking it like a sandbag in the back. And so I started doing it. I was like, oh, that's really nice. But that was like a softer bag. And then the one out on the floor was like really tight. Yeah. And man, it was a different animal. And
you tried to side pick it.
I did, and it didn't work. It didn't work too well. It just zapped me, and I couldn't make it work. And then I finally picked it, and like the right way. And like I was so sad. I was just out of gas.
The blood pressure PRs too of like right after deadlifts and that deadlift suit, which is like
I wasn't ready for OSG in any way, shape, or form. I had been doing Highland Games the entire year and hadn't been doing any strength training hardly at all for months. I was at the weakest and the lightest I'd been in like well over a decade. And I got the invite 11 weeks out and I was just like, screw it. I'm going to see what I can do. And lots of things went wrong because I just didn't have time to put a plan together and prep properly.
Yeah.
But whatever. I was still like middle of the pack. I didn't lose. I wasn't last. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
that did impress people. Is like you were one of the only people who were posting and being like, yeah, this was decent. Turned out well.
I did. I mean, I placed exactly where I thought I would, actually.
Yeah.
Because it was like a very tough competition. But
I liked the Go Ruck medley too. I thought that was a lot of fun. Yeah. I had fun time training that. I'm not saying this to like inspire any ideas or anything, but like I kind of thought like the backpack it I don't know, it didn't really like affect me, or like I don't feel like it made like that much of a difference in terms of just sprinting like back. I think it slowed you down a little bit.
Sure,
you just didn't have that same like gait pretty much. But like it was almost weird. I don't know if this is like a real thing or not, but I almost felt like when you're carrying like a sandbag or doing the sled, like in a sense, because the weight was kind of like already leaning towards that way, it was kind of like supported you almost like going backwards with the sled in a sense, you know? So
I heard a few people say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you saw some people actually like overdo it and fall backwards because of that. Like that kind of like distinct run. Because that you felt bad for I saw a good handful of competitors were like just ahead of the pack and then just like happened to slip backwards. And then like if you tried to like pull the sled on your knees, you weren't gonna pull that sled on your knees. So that was a weird thing to watch people that surprising dynamic. And then the few people who fell backwards and couldn't get up just looked like turtles, just like waving their arms. There was one woman who did that, and it was hard not to laugh. I was like, that would be a bummer to be that person.
Yeah,
because that was a nice one, and I think because my dad was talking about that of like because Go Ruck's a very successful company. Yeah, so I think it's nice to start incorporating sponsors like that. Like that's a 100%. Good way to like get an event, but also they are a large sponsor. Yeah, they'll do that. And like you're saying, I think you're saying people don't always expect that you came from like basketball, but I think I like the movement. Like we talked about Strongman goes in cycles, but like this cycle of Strongman is very much like you have to be an athlete. Like you 100%. Can't just be a static monster. Of like you wouldn't if you were the kind of person who had no conditioning and were just used to just like maximal events, like OSG would have been terrible.
Right. Listen,
so I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, 100%. And just on a numbers basis alone, like OSG can't be a static event. It's like if you have a max in that, forget about it. Yeah, you know, I know previously they did. I think it was maybe the first year they started, but now, I mean, with that many people competing,
it would take way too long. You'd have one event a day.
One event a day, literally. Yeah,
it's true. And you couldn't do that with multiple events. Like that first day when the first event took like till 5 p.m. almost.
The first day was a long day. Yeah, the first day was like because we had the ceremony in the morning, so everyone was kind of already there early for that. Right. And then, I mean, I think we didn't finish the Go Ruck until around 9-ish, maybe 8:39.
Right.
And you know the heavyweights. I mean, geez, they probably didn't get out of there till 10.
Oh no, there were some people walking in still after 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Because we were at the restaurant bar. Yeah, and people were still walking in late. It was nuts.
Yeah. Second day though, the pace was a lot better.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know, that's competing, man. That's part of it.
Absolutely. Well, hey, we try to usually keep these at about an hour, Johnny. Yeah. Any final words for our viewers or our fans, your fans, potential fans?
I just want to thank everybody for, supporting me on this journey. Like I previously mentioned, like I'm having the time of my life. So all the support means the world to me. I just want to give a shout out to my family, because I really wouldn't be able to do this without my dad, my mom, my sister. So, I appreciate all them for supporting me. And, I'm just gearing up to have a really, really big year and continue to make a splash in the scene. So I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah. Well, awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on. It's been a good talk, and wish you all the best this year.
Thank you guys for having me on. Very much appreciated. Very, very much.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and follow us on Instagram for updates. We'll catch you next time on World's Strongest Opinions.